Hello, Peaceful Valley Church. It's a Tuesday. We are in a number of weeks of an interesting little quarantine time, and you may have noticed that life has started to find a new normal. The new normal. Now, we hope that the normal we're in now is not going to continue forever, but we are in a new normal for now. That seems like if we're not careful, that can seem like God has lost control, that the normal has been lost, and that now we're floundering, and now we have to make up something new. But actually, what we find when we look through the Old Testament, and we're going to look specifically today at the book of Ruth, what we find is that life is constantly ebbing and flowing. There's a constant flow of change, and at any one of these seasons of change, God's people find a new normal, they get back into a groove, and they continue on with life. Now we see in Ruth something very special, and that's why I've chosen Ruth. This is not someone that we would consider to be a person of God. Ruth was a Moabite. She was an outsider, and yet God reached into Ruth's life and blessed her in ways that would shock us if we get too stuck in thinking God has his own kind of people, and people who are outside that kind of people are lost. Ruth is an outsider, but God blesses her mightily. In the book of Ruth, chapter 1, we find our main characters. They choose to leave the land, and they meet this woman, Ruth. And even though most of our main characters pass away in the first chapter, Naomi and Ruth, a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, come back into Israel. Chapter 2, verses 1 through 3, give us an insight into what it looks like to find the new normal. Now, Naomi had a relative of her husband's, a worthy man of the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, "Let me go to the field and glean among the ears of grain after him in whose sight I find favor." And she said to her, "Go, my daughter." Ruth ended up going out into this field, and she worked all day. She defined for herself a hardworking, honorable, and respectable reputation. Very quickly, she became a woman of high renown. Now, by the time we get to the end of the book, she is married to Boaz. They have a child, and it ends with a good ending. And what we find, though, here in the beginning is Ruth was taken out of her normal. She used to live in Moab. She now lives in Bethlehem. She used to be of the outsiders. Now she's one of Israel somehow. She's welcomed into the land and treated with honor and respect by Boaz, and eventually taken into his home as Boaz's wife. And so Ruth shows us how to enter into the new normal. She finds things that need done. She engages her abilities. Her hand is put to the work. Her mind is put to the priorities. Her attitude is fit to recognize that God is providing for her. Brothers and sisters, we're called to do that same thing. And we find in Ruth's story that God is not hindered when it comes to him blessing people. He's not hindered by where you come from. He's not hindered by the situation. He's not hindered by the change. He's not hindered by the new normal. God can bless, and nothing can stop him. May we all learn to recognize that our normal has changed. It is a new normal for a time. But help us to also recognize that God's blessings are waiting, and that if we engage in life again, in the new normal, okay, but if we engage in life again, it is a beautiful thing to see God's blessings shower down on us. On this Tuesday, the beginning of this week, in this new normal, I pray that we would all engage in life with motivation and courage, longing to see the things that God is going to do, and we are going to be amazed by it. Now, this story is not only told in Ruth. Moses had to do this. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had to do this. All of Israel in Babylon had to do this. The apostles had to do this when Jesus handed it over to them. The early church had to do this. Throughout history, Christians have had to find the new normal and participate. And today, we have the opportunity to do the same thing. What a glorious day the Lord has given us today. Have a good day, Peaceful Valley Church. Goodbye.